So, the last race of the season. It's down to the wire, and it's also the last race for British driver Scott David Coulthard, who joins me now. David, your final time in an F1 car. Any plans to go out in style?
My plan for the weekend has always been to qualify somewhere down the field, ideally 14th, so we achieved that, very happy there. And then during the race, basically I just want to get punted off at the first corner and then trudge back to the pits for a depressing interview with Louise Goodman.
David, if you don't mind me saying, that's not really going out in style, is it?
Well, it's going out in my style.
Gareth Jones on speed!
Hello, welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. I'm the Gareth Jones, he's the Richard.
Hello.
And he's the Zog.
Hello.
First of all, our initial reaction to the most extraordinary turn of events that we've just watched, the winning of the Drivers' Championship by His Royal Highness Lewis Hamilton. Our initial reaction, I think, is this. Crikey Moses.
George.
Really?
Pretty impressive. Well done, young man.
Yeah. Well done, young man.
Anyway, see you next time. That's
That's all we wanted to say, really, isn't it?
Genuinely, I can't think of anything to say at the moment. I'm just, except that I'm extraordinarily pleased, if a little shell-shocked, and exhausted,
Yeah.
quite frankly. We were, it's no exaggeration to say, we were on our feet, weren't we? We were like just spontaneously on our feet.
That last lap.
There was a lot of flailing around,
jumping around.
and shouting and all sorts. It was just sort of animal behaviour. But
We were all standing up because at the point at which we all stood up, the weather had just changed and everyone had come in to put on intermediates again. And at that point, we realised that, well, we believed Lewis had lost it. And we stood up in dismay. We were all standing there with these hand dog expressions. And then slowly, it sort of unpeeled in front of us as Glock failed to keep it on the black stuff, as far as we could tell at this stage.
But there was even more than that, because when they started coming in for the intermediate tyres, and, you know, we're all sort of thinking out loud, and we're sort of saying, oh, okay, but Lewis, he's dropping back from fifth place. That means that he's lost it now unless Massa doesn't finish first. Then Massa comes into the pit, and at that moment I thought, okay, fine, we're back on. Everything's okay as long as nothing. And I hadn't realised that he could come back out in first place. I hadn't realised that. I couldn't help wondering if somebody had done a quick sprint from the McLaren garage down the pit lane with a large suitcase full of money to the Toyota garage.
No, I think what happened was they went, right, we've got that car that's ruining our chances that's still out there on the slick tyres. We've got to go down there and see if they'll reduce their... Oh, wait, it's Toyota. That's fine. We'll
be all right.
Well, I say that, but then, you know, truly managed to qualify second. So we can scoff, but it's a good job they found their pace at the right time in the seat.
Oh, too late. That was the most fantastically satisfying climax to a season. I mean, the tension...
It's been an amazing season, you have to say.
It's been a fab
Actually,
season.
You know, all the way through, there's been a drama, fantastic fight between Hamilton and Massa.
And I'm certain that just about everyone who listens to this show who's as addicted to Formula One as we are, over the last 2 weeks waiting for this final race, has felt this sense of, oh, I don't know if I could watch it. You know, it's just too painful. I don't know if I could make it. And then we get to the start of the race, and to add to the drama, they delay the start by 10 minutes because of rain. Right. First tick on the box. Let's see, what can we do to make this even worse? Oh, we'll have rain on the grid, at the dummy grid. Right, that's a good
decisions
start.
about tyres at the start of the race.
Yeah. I mean, scratching our heads. You know, we usually, at the start of a race, we're all experts, aren't we? We're all, you know, team managers in our own right. We're sitting there, oh no, well, of course, you should have started on the intermediates. At the start of this race, we're all sitting here going, I don't know what to do. It was deathly quiet. Did you notice? We're all sitting around going, I don't know what to do.
There's a lot of concentration, yeah. A lot less fooling around than there usually is.
If the Ferraris are running light, then that's an advantage to them because the weather's changeable. And we believe Lewis is heavy because he wasn't that quick in qualifying. Panic started to set in even before the start of the race for me. And then it gets worse. The Ferraris get away like lightning. Heikki fails to protect Lewis in the way...
Except at the very start. I mean, in those first couple of corners, did a nice job of covering Lewis's back.
He did at that point.
Yeah, and until he dropped behind Alonso and Vettel, wasn't
it?
Yeah,
Vettel was going like the wind.
Yeah, he had a hell of a race. But
and at one point, I suddenly thought, hang on, the answer to all our problems here is Vettel must win the race. As long as if Vettel or even Alonso wins this race, it stops Massa from doing it, and therefore Lewis wins by default, effectively. But that changed, didn't it?
But you have to say, I mean, Massa did a fantastic job. I mean, he never looked like he was going to lose the race. I mean, it was
no, that's true.
It was always his race, and I really felt sorry for the guy. I mean, much as I was 100% behind Lewis all the way, I'm so happy that he's won, and there will be more championships, and I'm sure we'll be looking at him a few years' time as a remarkable multi-world championship winning driver, not just the youngest ever world champion, but that's in the future. Right now, no way I wanted Massa to have been, but that said, I did feel sorry for the guy doing the job that he did in front of his home crowd, and to then come away from it without the championship. And the other thing is that drama was right up to not just the last minute, not just the last lap, but when was the last time that the winner of the last race of the season crossed the line thinking he was going to win the World Championship, but it actually being dependent on what happened behind him?
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
And, and until those next 5 or 6 cars had finished the race, the World Championship wasn't settled.
Yeah, it's a miracle he didn't just jam on the brakes straight after the line and sit there to see who came past next, because it must have been nail-biting.
Do a couple of donuts, get some smoke up.
I'm not sure who to feel the sorriest for. That podium celebration with Massa on the podium with the Brazilian national anthem, the howling wind, the lights because it's dark, the tears in his eyes. He's done everything he can. He's in his home race and he's not world champion. I don't know whether to feel sorry for him or his dad, because that moment in the pit lane where they're celebrating, we've won the world championship because Massa's crossed the line first and Lewis is seemingly 6th at this stage, but in the space of 15, 20 seconds, someone comes up to it, one of the Ferrari team, and says to Massa, no, Lewis is 5th, you're not the world champion.
And how far must their hearts have dropped in that moment? I mean, sure, it was funny at the time, but you can't possibly think about that or yet again without really feeling for them.
There's an expression, isn't there? Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Yes, I, Felipe Massa's dad, have won the London Marathon. I've done it 26 miles and I have run them all.
Excuse me, mate. Excuse me. Yeah, fella. Before flag. Marathon's actually 26.2 miles. So what you're doing is you're standing about 1/5 of a mile from the actual finish line. I'm afraid what's happened here is your celebration has been a bit premature.
Oh no, not again. Happy New Year, everybody!
Excuse me, Felipe Massa, it's very nice you come to our house this evening, but it's only the 30th of December. Your New Year's celebration appears to be a little premature.
Oh no, not again! Oh, what a superb James Bond movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Why I have never watched this before. It has been so very excellent. Telly Savalas, Mr. George Lazenby, surprisingly accomplished. And now this beautiful, happy ending. Yes, James Bond finally finding love. Woohoo, yes!
My husband, Felipe Massa's dad.
Yes, Felipe Massa's dad's wife.
Yes, bad news. Diana Rigg, a.k.a. Tracy DiVincenzo, has just been shot. Your celebrations of the cheerful James Bond marriage ending appear to have been a little premature.
Oh, no. Not again.
Step Petrol with Gareth Jones on speed!
That race that we've just watched not only marked a piece of history in that we now have Second time in, 3 years? The youngest person ever to win the World Championship. So, Lewis steals it from Alonso. There's an extra good one there, isn't there?
I've just done some maths on the back of a Chinese takeaway menu, and by my calculations, by the year 2036, the F1 World Champion will be 2 years old.
That'll be Michael Schumacher Jr., of course.
Well, the cars are getting easier to drive, so...
Who is Ralph's great-grandson? Not Michael's.
Didn't see that coming.
But apart from recording a piece of history, first black man to win the World Championship, first youngest man to win the World Championship since the last youngest man won the World Championship, it was also ITV's last race as F1 broadcaster in the UK. 12 years of ITV. Richard, I'm going to come to you and what you're going to say about it in a second, because I know. Zog, what do we think? They did a good job, actually, didn't they?
They did a good job. I mean, originally, I suppose, when we were all so into the Murray Walker, James Hunt, BBC F1 tradition, when they lost it to Evie, that was, I think, as a fan, you felt that they were going to really struggle to do as good a job. To be fair, with the team that they put together, in particular getting Brundle on board, they have managed to do a pretty good job. I would pick out actually some of the technical items that they would do in some of the race build-up stuff, and they would go to they'd obviously gone to quite a lot of work on some of those items, not just to work with the team to maybe get particular shots of the cars at work or get Brundle in a car, but they get 3D CGI imagery overlaid on the shots of the car to illustrate some actually quite complicated points about aerodynamics.
I think
about
that was
racing techniques.
Last season where we saw the spray and the flow dynamics off the front wing and stuff over the Red Bull car that they did last season. That was at its zenith. That was the stuff that I loved the most. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and they're having some really good work as well as just some good solid stuff on the commentary front with Brundle and
doing commentary for them this time. I must have missed him. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they actually got a police lyric in to do some commentary for them. That's the one.
I thought it was a bunch of 6-year-olds doing machine gun impressions.
So they've done a good job, but I'm on the whole glad to see it going to the BBC, especially given the way I feel about their relative software players, as I ranted about on a previous show. And to be fair to them, ITV have just updated the player. It has got a little bit better. You can sort of see where you are in the order of things, but it's still rubbish.
Right. My view, I think ITV did a great job. I love the adverts because I always burst in for a wee in the middle of the race, and I'm always happy to go off and have one and not miss any of the action because they'll always replay it when you come back.
Sky Plus, dude. Of course.
On the downside, even though I was the reserve pit lane reporter for all 12 years, they never actually called me up, and on the only occasion when one of their pit lane reporters couldn't do it, they put in Alan McNish, actually, which was a perfectly good idea, but they didn't call me like they said they would, so boo to them for that. But Richard, is there any aspect of the ITV coverage that displeased you over the years?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
Think long and hard. Is there nothing about the packaging, maybe? The sell of music, maybe? The soundtracks?
No. Oh, wait, what about that insufferable, weak-voiced, stats-obsessed turd James Allen? Yes! I knew there was something. Of course, their lead commentator. I think I'd blocked it out because we will never have to hear his voice on F1 again. Hallelujah, my brothers and sisters. The man has gone. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord, indeed.
And we've just heard from the BBC that the money that they've saved from suspending Jonathan Ross and not having to pay Russell Brand anymore, they're going to bring James Allen over to host the coverage on BBC. That would be bad news, wouldn't it?
3 people I would rather hear doing the commentary on the BBC coverage. Number 1, Robert Mugabe. I don't know. I mean, he might know a lot.
Number 2, any other 2 people you care to think of?
I was just about to say someone who's dead, but I'd still rather listen to a dead person doing it.
Down the
and
road,
number 3, I would rather listen to Alan Carr running his fingernails down a blackboard and describing it over the top of Formula 1 coverage. Oh, that's very scratchy. Than I would to another second of that stain on broadcasting on the sport that I love. Brundle, on the other hand, I think is excellent, and I really do hope he goes to the B.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, everyone. James Allen. It's my James Allen impression.
It's not weak enough.
Hello, everyone.
back of the throat.
Did you know there's a James Allen girls' school in Dulwich?
I did know that because someone sent me a link to it, yeah. Really? Well, I mean, obviously, I don't just get links to girls' schools. Me.
James Allen Girls' School. There's got to be a sketch in that, guys. There's got to be.
No, let's just never mention him again.
Yeah, okay. Okay, the thing that I'm down on with ITV, and I really did think that they did a great job. I really, really do. I'm even not quite so down on James Allen as you were. He was certainly not Murray Walker. He didn't bring excitement to the show in the way that Murray Walker did, and that's really what you needed. The thing I dislike most about ITV's coverage were those flaming heavy metal Sony idents before the breaks. And now my two children, 6 and 8 years old, walk around going, "Staying alive!" I mean, for goodness sake, please stop doing this. And indeed, they've done that now. I'm going to miss the adverts next year, but I'm not going to miss the stings.
Yeah, no, I think you're quite right about the music choices. And it was not just that particular one. Over the years, they've made some other quite poor music choices. Particularly, although, to be fair, it's just impossible to come up to that extraordinarily high standard set by choosing the chain. I mean,
Yeah, well, it's still... the Beef haven't actually said anything about that yet, so... When we brought Top Gear back, well, it was about 6 years ago, and we sort of had the Allman Brothers Jessica, the Top Gear theme tune, we had it redone in a sort of... Remember the propeller heads? It was that kind of style. If you listen to it, it's got a kind of driving bass line.
Plus, you're saving some royalties because you're not actually paying the Allman Brothers to use
Well,
their,
I don't know. I suppose they still
work.
get a few quid. I'm not sure.
They'll get the composition.
Yeah, they'll get
royalty. They won't get the performance.
But I just wonder whether they'll try and do something like that with the chain, and whether that would actually just end up being awful. But if they did a sort of a chain flavoured or just sample it in some way, I don't know. That's a challenge.
I think that kind of sort of re-recording thing can be tricky, particularly something like the chain, where the chain's a very subtle thing, whereas that Allman Brothers tune, it's a much stronger tune. The chain depends much more on sort of a build up.
It's a feel and a sound.
It's a feel and a sound, and to remix those.
I know. I mean, if you just did it on a sort of on a synth with a bass line that did the distinctive bass at the start of the chain, I don't think it would be the same. It'd be a bit odd.
It would sound a bit too much like.
Although you say that about the Top Gear theme, the guy who did the new version that you'll hear on Top Gear these days said it was actually a complete swine to get it right. Because it's quite a complicated bit of music. It's
sort of, in principle, easier to do a remodelling of that original work that sounds good in its own right, without without looking really weak when you.
Well, what is the chain? Is just a bass line, and then
some drums,
dang, guitar comes in. So it's fairly elemental.
Do you know what? Do you know how good the chain is? I really dislike almost everything I've ever heard from Fleetwood Mac, with the exception of...
go your own way.
Yeah,
it's great.
They had,
with the exception of Albatross and the acoustic version of Albatross, which I love, and I even can't stand listening to the chain, but I like it in the context of Formula One. That's how good it is in the context of Formula One.
Hey, I've got a really good and ultimately quite irrelevant trivia question for you. Everybody knows the chain and associate it throughout the 80s with the Formula One coverage, but at the same time the BBC was doing rally coverage, and there was a very distinctive bit of music that went over the titles of the rally coverage.
At the same time that they're around the same time that...
And what I'd say, the only reason I mention this is because it was still being used on the rally coverage when I first started working for the BBC in Pebble Mill in like 1998, and at that point it was still the most commonly asked question that we got
really
mailed in at that point. I mean, email.
What is that music?
What's that music off the rally?
Was it the theme tune to Grange Hill, by any chance? It usually is the same one, isn't it, that they use for other programmes, don't they?
No, it was the Grange Hill Nelly sort of mashup.
It was also used for that mime programme with Michael Aspel. What was it called?
Give Us a Clue.
That was it, the same piece of music.
With Lisa Goddard and Lionel Blair.
And Una Stubbs. Albito.
And Michael Parkinson used to do it as well. I spoke to Michael Parkinson this week because he was a guest on Top Gear.
Yes.
And I spoke to him on the phone, did a little speech chat. He's a really nice guy. It was almost completely incomprehensible at times.
Something about cricket.
A broadcasting institution in its own right.
Exploding kneecap. But just he's like that guy of Fascio. Oh, wait. We were talking about music, and I think we should stop talking about music because I keep wanting to sing things out loud, and then we'll get copyright infringement.
Hang on. The question though, because I can't remember what that piece of music was.
What was it called?
I want to know go now.
Right, it was by a band called Propaganda.
In which case it would either have been
Hang on, here we go.
Duel,
Yes.
or
Bing.
Dream Within a Dream.
Duel,
It was
very
Duel.
Duel
good.
by Propaganda.
Okay, but which version? Was it Duel spelled D-U-E-L, or was it the remix that was spelled J-E-W-E-L?
Oh, it was
really
the
clever
hang on.
80s
first ones, I
things.
think. I'll look it up after we've done this.
Brilliant, but it's
Paul-
a great tune.
Paul
What were we
Morley,
talking about?
Paul Morley, Anne Dudley, and what was the German woman in Propaganda? What was her name? She had a great name. Claudia.
She was
Brucher. Claudia Brucher.
Yes,
Yes.
and
Did some work with the Pet Shop Boys, I think.
Yeah.
And Anne Dudley, Art of Noise as well.
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a car show, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Yeah, but we like our music as well.
Rudi, mein old friend, I have not seen you in precisely 57 days. How is life in the hedge fund business?
Oh, Helmut, it's not good, my friend. I've been fired from my job. And my doctor says it is best if I'm not reminded of recent unpleasantness in elevator.
I am sorry to hear this. So when I first saw your gloomy face, I assumed it was merely because you had missed out on your usual weekend game of golf.
Oh, no!
No, wait. I apologize. I'm sorry. No, please put this Volkswagen-related misery out of your mind. For a moment there, when you made your outburst, I thought perhaps actually it was because my terrible breath. It is a result of my breakfast bath first. Wait, I have something here which will freshen my breath. Perhaps you would like one too. Polo? No, wait, no. Sorry, I'm sorry, please. Forget that this was mentioned. I think you need to take your mind off things, Rudy. You need to take your mind off things. Perhaps may I invite you to dinner? You and your wife will join me for a meal, and also my new girlfriend, Sharon. No, wait, no. She's a lady, not the people move. Wait, it's fine. Rudy, calm. I'm sorry. Rudy, it is clear from this that you need something to take your mind off things. This is the problem. As a friend, I suggest to you that you adopt some kind of hobby, some pastime that will allow you to, beetle around. No, Rudy, please, no, don't jump. It's okay.
Helmut,
Calm.
please stop making these incredibly contrived Volkswagen references. This is very bad for my Kopf.
Rudy, my friend, I apologize once more. And I promise to choose my words more carefully. But before I say the next thing, I just want to check with you. Please tell me, Volkswagen have never made a car called You Shouldn't Have Been So Greedy, You Money-Grabbing Bastards.
Gareth Jones on speed! Proud to have a British world champion again! Well done, Lewis!
I'm just looking at my list of notes here of things I scribbled down during the race. It's got stuff like ordered pizza after second stop when Lewis came out 6th. I thought that was the end, really. And also, Button/Barrichello/Senna, Embratel, Honda. Do you know about that?
No.
Something I remembered. Well, 3 into 2 won't go, right? And next year, there are 3 people vying for the drive in the Honda team. One of them is Rubens Barrichello. The other one is Jenson Button. The third one is allegedly...
Takuma Sato.
No.
Takuma
Sato's...
I pulled that out of the air because he doesn't have a drive at the moment. And
well, you'd expect him to go back to Honda, but no, he looks like he could be going to Toro Rosso, very possibly. But the third one is Ayrton Senna's nephew, your friend of mine, Bruno Senna. Mm-hmm. And I'm inclined to believe that this is going to happen because I read somewhere this week that Honda have just signed a big sponsorship deal with Embratel, the Brazilian telephone company. Now, you don't get a massive Brazilian sponsor without a Brazilian driver, do you?
Interesting.
And it's hard to think who else would be in the frame other than Bruno Senna.
Are you aware of Bruno Senna having sponsorship with Embratel already?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got a test with Honda coming up in a couple of weeks.
Because he has been talking about how he's not sure what's happening next year, but he'd like to be an F1, and he's been saying that, there may be some kind of announcement soon, and then he might be able to, make a more definite statement about the future. So so something is, at least
on that. I don't think they're going to have two Brazilian drivers in that team, are they? So it does look like that could have been Barrichello's last race.
Well, and he is, he's the older statesman in the sport now, isn't he? He's the old guy.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
he's better than Button. Sorry, I didn't say.
Well, is he though?
Did you notice at the end of the race, one of the Hondas was on fire? Now, it's easy to say, well, of course, F1 cars, things like the brakes are running at over 1,000 degrees centigrade. Of course, when they come to a halt suddenly, after an intense race like that, sometimes things catch fire. It's less easy to say or speculate without any basis. They're just burning the evidence. That was a terrible season. Get rid of it.
I think it was an insurance job. That was the only way they could salvage anything from this season.
The new
set fire to the car. I said, look, sorry, we did right off at the circuit. Yeah,
and that was the only hot lap that Honda's done all season. So anyone else we leaving behind this year?
Crazy Dave Coulthard is either out of here and.
Either out of here.
Yeah, I was going to say something ruder.
I put on a frock to celebrate Dave's last race. I'm wearing my kilt.
You are wearing a kilt,
and it didn't bring any fortune whatsoever. But I have to say, I did predict exactly what was going to happen before the race. Did I not?
You did. Can I tell you something else? This is slightly pathetic, but it seems to have worked. That I'm wearing my lucky underpants.
Are you really?
Yeah, I really am. I really show them to you. I just take my word for it. They're my lucky pants.
It wouldn't work on a podcast anyway. There's no point.
No.
So, did you take any luck precautions or symbolic precautions for the last race? Because I remember a couple of when
actually I sort of did. I decided that I wouldn't wear my Renault cap today.
Yeah, I also made the same decision
because I have a very nice Renault ING cap which I wear quite a lot of the time. But I thought no, I'm not going to wear that today because in some bizarre way, although I'm a very very sort of strict rationalist and I have no time for any kind of superstition or religion whatsoever, nonetheless I thought I don't want in any way to kind of jinx things here. And I wouldn't want somehow by wearing this cap to imply that I might be supporting Alonso over Hamilton and thereby through the complicated web of interconnected strands of karma and fate in the universe somehow jinx
as we well
race.
know, when a butterfly beats its wings in the Brazilian rainforest wearing a Renault cap, a tsunami
washes the British driver off a track in Brazil.
Do you know, curiously, talking about sort of good luck charms and things, many years ago when Damon Hill won the World Championship, I was in this very room, sat on that very sofa there watching it, and before the race, it was in the middle of the night, it was a Japan race, before the race started, I got up extra early, and I got 7 pieces of masking tape and I taped them around the top of my alarm baseball cap to look like a Damon Hill hat, which I didn't have in those days. I put it on and my mate Bobby was coming over for the race. I went, Bobby's going to like this. I got to the door, right? The doorbell rang. I opened the door and Bobby's done exactly the same. An alarm hat with 7 pieces of masking tape around it in exactly the same position. So I'd be very interested to hear what our listeners have done to bring good luck to Lewis Hamilton, because whatever it is, guys, it worked.
Yeah. Well done us. Well done everybody.
Me wearing a Scottish pair of trousers, or kilt as we call them in Wales, didn't help Mr. Coulthard at all. But we will miss him. He's had some great moments. I think his finest moment was that first Monaco win. Oh, that was...
Yeah, I mean, he's been inconsistent in a lot of ways, but he's given us some fantastic moments. Yeah, absolutely Monaco. And he's been a gentleman throughout his career, I think. He's not a driver who you would very often criticise for
being big-headed,
being big-headed, for being too aggressive, for being unfair to other drivers, and I think that should be applauded. It's just a shame that when he maybe did have his best chances at McLaren, that he either through bad luck or through just a moment of poor concentration managed to throw it away, because he could have won 1 championships.
He could, and that's the thing. He was most frustrating when he was in the McLaren. When he was in the Red Bull,
And it wasn't.
And it lowered expectations
Yeah,
when
but
he pulled something out of the
sometimes
back,
he
which he did.
hauled that thing round there,
Yeah.
out of all proportion to how it should have gone.
And you could almost see him. It was interesting, actually, when he sort of made that transition from the end of his McLaren career to stepping into that Red Bull and new phase of his career. He almost seemed to be liberated. You could almost see him sort of with a bit more of a spring in his step, and it showed in his driving.
Yeah.
Here's the terrible Coulthard irony, I think, that he was taken out of his last Formula One race by a driver in a car of the team that gave Coulthard his first drive in Formula One, a Williams. He arrived in a Williams, and he was taken out, as we understand, by Nico Rosberg slamming him up the rear in this race. So there, bookends. David Coulthard, we applaud you, and we'll miss you. We'll miss you.
For you go.
And you have been listening to Gareth Jones on Speed. We'll play out, I think, with the only anthem you can play when you've got a British world champion for the first time in however many years. Well done, Lewis. Say goodbye, Richard.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Zog.
Goodbye.
And farewell, people.
Didn't he do well?
Get more info on this show at garethjones.tv. Write to the show on Speed at garethjones.tv or subscribe for free at the iTunes Store. Gareth Jones on Speed is made by Whizbang.